morning all. Today's my lecture is on lactic acidosis. That is having very important diagnostic parameter in our normal cardiac surgeries and like that. So we will go with it for its introduction to management, and we will discuss it in detail. Now, definition wise, if we see, lactic acidosis is a high anionic gap metabolic acidosis due to elevated blood lactate level that is more than 5 millimole per liter. Okay, and if it is with acidosis, like pH is less than 7.35, then it is termed as a lactic acidosis. Otherwise, it termed as a hyperlactatemia. Now, it is resulting from the overproduction of lactate or decreased metabolism of lactate, or both can be simultaneously present. Normal lactate level is 0.5 to 1 millimole per liter. Okay, and critically ill patient we can consider it at less than 2 millimole per liter. Hyperlactatemia 2 to 4 millimole per liter without acidosis, and if it is with acidosis, it is lactic acidosis. Now, lactate is normal byproduct of glucose and amino acid metabolism that occurs in anaerobic status. So there are main two types of lactic acidosis: type A lactic acidosis, type B lactic acidosis, and second is D lactic acidosis. That is term as a D-lactate encephalopathy like condition that is very life threatening, and usually it happens due to short bowel syndrome like surgery, when intestinal resection surgery is performed or ileojejunal bypass is performed. Then a carbohydrate would be metabolized by bacteria and that will produce a dextrolactic acid. That is not a normal human physiological lactic acid, that is lactic acidosis. We will go in detail afterward. Now, causes of lactic acidosis. In that, first we will go for type A lactic acidosis. That is the most serious one and most common one. Now, it occurs due to organ ischemia that leads to anaerobic metabolism and overproduction of lactic acid. That happens due to inadequate tissue perfusion caused by first hypovolemic shock or cardiogenic shock or septic shock that produces tissue perfusion derangement. Second one is hypoxemia, means that arise from primary lung disease, that reduction in PO2 and that lead to anaerobic metabolism. Or second is a hemoglobinopathy, where oxygen delivery is hampered. Third one is more physiologic, like demand supply mismatch, that can occur in routinely physiological level by excessive vigorous muscle activity that lead to mismatch with oxygen requirement and oxygen supply. Due to that, a sudden rise of lactic acid can happen. Normally, in a day, our body generates around 1500 millimole lactic acid, but physiological range is like that. With muscle activity, it can go up to 500 millimole in an hour. So, with that tremendous load of lactic acidosis also, if person take rest for 1 to 2 hours, our liver is capable to neutralize it to pyruvate acid. So, that will also we will see in next slides. So, our liver capacity to neutralize lactic acid is very high. So, this type of thing is that in which perfusion is relatively normal and delivery is normal, then that type of lactic acidosis recover within 3 hours maximum. Like that happen in clinical scenario where seizure activity is there, patient is hypothermic after post cardiac surgery and having shivering and exertion that we have told. Now, second type of lactic acidosis is type B lactic acidosis. In this setup, hypoxia is there and it is without shock, occurs in a state of normal global perfusion. Now, this type of lactic acidosis is primarily a respiratory chain block or inadequate clearance of lactic acid. Two types of setup is there, most of them. Like if we see, some drugs and toxins are there, like fenformin, metformin. That drug is normally used in diabetes. Now these drugs are used to cut off the neoglucogenesis. Now what happens if patient is receiving this metformin, and so then body would be like that, new glucose formation from pyruvic acid to glucose will be hampered. So intrahepatic way, when lactic acid enters blood from the cell, will go to the liver, will not be adequately converted to the pyruvate to the glucose. So that's why it leads to increase in lactic acid formation. Second thing is nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors that used in the AIDS, HIV patient or like that. They are suppressing DNA polymerase reaction. So some drugs are very prominent in inhibiting DNA replication in mitochondria, and that will lead to dysfunction and of mitochondria and reduction in production of mitochondria, and can reduce aerobic metabolism of glucose, which can lead to anaerobic glucose metabolism uprise and can lead to lactic acidosis. Ethanol, that alcohol, that causes NADH to NAD ratio that is raising up, and which lead to conversion of pyruvate to lactate to increase it, and that also favors the pyruvate to lactate conversion and relatively inhibits its aerobic metabolism to Krebs cycle. Adrenaline we normally use in cardiac surgery. It is primarily inotrope with hormone activity also. It is having a catabolic effect on body. So it when adrenaline is administered, it induces anaerobic metabolism of glucose to pyruvate to lactate. So we have to see this and give this drug at optimum level as possible as minimum possible. Cyanide poisoning, that is as cellular respiratory chain blocker. So it blocks cytochrome cycle, and that lead to poor generation, inadequate efficacy of Krebs cycle, and more pronounced if energy would be generated from glycolysis, and that glycolysis lead to increased lactic acid. Linezolid is also same kind of drug. Some other drugs are also there, like propofol. In high dose, if we use at 4 mg per kg per hour for more than 48 hours, then it can also lead to derangement in phosphorylation cycle, and that can disrupt mitochondrial aerobic ATP generation. So that will also cause anaerobic metabolism of glucose and can lead to lactic acidosis. Others, like in diabetes, cause would be insulin resistance, and the proper entry of glucose would be inhibited. Hexokinase is also sensitive to insulin. So that is also in favor of anaerobic metabolism than aerobic metabolism. Use of metformin is also there in diabetes, so that can also increase the formation of lactic acid. Hepatic insufficiency is primary cause of lactic acidosis due to inadequate clearance of lactate to pyruvate to glucose or neoglucogenesis, we say it at glycogenesis. Kidney function is also important. Kidney is also having effect in the generation of lactic acid to pyruvate to glycogen storage, and it is having around 10 to 20% role. Major role is of hepatic. Some patients have thiamine deficiency, that is water soluble vitamin, and when we use high dose of diuretics to treat congestive heart failure or like that setup, in that, due to poor nutritional intake with higher excretion of water soluble vitamin, can lead to deficiency of thiamine. Now thiamine is very having important role in two enzymes primarily effective, that are the pyruvate dehydrogenase and transketolase. This pyruvate dehydrogenase is very important for initiating a Krebs cycle. From pyruvate to acetyl coenzyme A, it is primary step to give, and if it is deficiency there, then metabolism will shift to the anaerobic one, and that will lead to lactic acidosis. Cancer cells are very aggressive cells metabolically, and they itself primarily derive energy from glucose, and having low blood flow setup also, that will increases glycolytic pathway to the cell. Systemic or congenital heart disease that involves the normal enzyme that is required for gluconeogenesis or pyruvate oxidation, that are the that lactate dehydrogenase abnormality or phosphodiesterase, that G6PD deficiency or pyruvate dehydrogenase deficiency. These are the diseases that are congenital, that can also hamper production of ATP from aerobic metabolism. Now this dextrolactic acidosis we have said earlier. So colonial bacteria metabolize carbohydrate to D-lactate, dextrolactate, and cannot be metabolized by liver, as our human lactate dehydrogenase can only metabolize L-lactic, lactic acid. So okay, now lactic acid metabolism. So major metabolism is by liver, lesser one is 10 to 20% by kidney, and even lower than that, muscle is also helping to metabolize lactate to glycogen. Now for muscle to make lactic acid to glycogen, insulin is required. If insulin deficiency is there, insulin resistance is there, then the muscle capability to store lactic acid in form of glycogen would be hampered. Liver cells are having different glucose transporter, 1 and 2, then 4, and that is insulin independent. So liver can take glucose without the help of insulin, and it can metabolize it efficiently if oxygenation is normal and perfusion is normal. Now vitamin B1, we have earlier told that pyruvate dehydrogenase, essential enzyme for aerobic metabolism, absence of thiamine. The conversion of pyruvate to acetyl coenzyme is inhibited, and pyruvate cannot enter in Krebs cycle. Okay. Now primarily lactic acid is producing more aggressively in the organs that are metabolically very high demanding, like skeletal muscle, brain, gut, erythrocyte. Erythrocyte primarily physiologically they always do anaerobic metabolism of glucose. They are not having mitochondria. So primarily they are producer of lactate. And now this slide will show lactic acid metabolism. One way there is liver, other tissue is muscle that is aggressively producing lactic acid while doing excessive strenuous muscle activity, and that can lead to derangement in oxygen supply and demand. So from that, lactic acid will be generated to give a quick energy. That Krebs cycle is producing more ATP, that is 36, and this glycolysis gives 2 ATP only, but the speed of ATP generation is high in glycolysis, so muscle will go for this metabolism for suffices the requirement of ATP for muscle activity. Now this lactate go to the enter blood and go to the liver, and from the liver it metabolite to pyruvate and then gluconeogenesis with help of oxygen 6 ATP, and it will convert to glucose, then glycogen is there. Pathophysiological classification of lactic acidosis, we can define it by hypoxic or non-hypoxic classification. Like hypoxia, so it can be by ischemia, that could be regional ischemia, reduction, thromboembolism like case is there, or any obstruction to blood flow is there, then that organ will not receive perfusion properly, and that muscle tissue and tissue skin will go to anaerobic metabolism. Shock, severe anemia also, what it will do, it will reduce the net oxygen content of blood, and that's why in high demanding case like in fever or like that status, oxygen demand will not be supplied adequately, and that will increase metabolic demand and can lead to glycolytic pathway that increase lactic acid formation. Cardiac arrest, that will globally reduce the perfusion. Global hypoxia, that is due to shock. Carbon monoxide poisoning, carbon monoxide tightly bind to hemoglobin ferrous and will lead to detachment of oxygen from hemoglobin, and low tissue oxygen delivery can lead to anaerobic metabolism by cells. Respiratory failure, inadequate supply of oxygen to the organs, that can lead to this. Severe asthma, COPD, same way. Asphyxia. Regional hypoperfusion is by regional reduction is blood flow by arterial blockage or like that condition. Limb and mesenteric ischemia, intestine is also metabolically very active, and the blood supply of gut is if hampered, then it will lead to major lactic acidosis. It can also lead to delactatemia. Okay. Second, non-hypoxic lactic acidosis. In that case, the blood PO2 and blood hemodynamics would be nearly normal. Even then, there would be hypoxia. So it definitely says that there is impairment of tissue delivery of oxygen or the metabolism of oxygen. Or the third one is delayed clearance. Like delayed clearance, if we say, it can happen in renal or hepatic dysfunction. So clearance of lactic acid to glucose will be disturbed. Pyruvate congenital diseases in which different enzyme involving for glucose metabolism can be deranged. So pyruvate dehydrogenase dysfunction could be there. That lactate dehydrogenase would be inefficient to do the thing. Then also this can happen. Clearance of that lactic acid can also hampered in case of like thiamine deficiency there. Poor function of pyruvate dehydrogenase would be there in that case. Sepsis, in which high consumption of demand of oxygen is there, that is very poorly supplied, and tissues go for anaerobic metabolism. Bacterial infection is also there. Then also the increased lactic acid would be there. With that, shock is there, and so liver perfusion would be down and lactic acid cannot be cleared. Alcoholic, we have told earlier. Uncoupling of oxidative phosphorylation is a respiratory chain mechanism. Cyanide poisoning like salicylates, cyanides, and that high dose of propofol, all that can do effect on that way. To at respiratory, the cellular respiration can cut down and can accelerate glycolysis. Now, lactic acid production, it is product of anaerobic metabolism of glucose, occurs in cytoplasm of cell. RBC, lens of eye are doing anaerobic glucose metabolism physiologically as they lack mitochondria. Metabolically highly active cells produce large amount of lactate during anaerobic metabolism. During hypoxemia, like skeletal muscle, intestine, brain, kidney, skin, our brain can use glucose very efficiently. It is not glucose transporter 4. Only hippocampus area, hypothalamus area, and cortex, cerebral cortex is sensitive to insulin. So a normal blood means normal function of brain can be easily managed without help of only insulin, but the memory function or intellect function that are handled by cortex of brain can be easily altered by diabetic state, in which insulin resistance is there or the insulin secretion is low. And these areas are important to balance normal insulin to glucose balance in our physiological range. Normal lactic acid production is 1500 millimole per day. Treatment of lactic acidosis, now what it so it's first we will see the clinical patient, how patient will present to you. Clinically, patient will have a fatigue due to extreme muscle weakness. Deposition of lactate in intramuscular tissue will lead to acidemia intramuscularly, and it will lead to dysfunction of muscle and heavy cramps in skeletal muscle system. Patient will do hyperventilation as pH is on acidosis side, so respiratory compensation would be there, and patient will mimic on respiratory alkalosis to compensate this metabolic acidosis. Abdominal pain, we have to alert that abdominal pain is there, then the lactate could be a caused by mesenteric ischemia, or we have to take it seriously. Fever, which can be linked to the development of sepsis with low perfusion, dehydration, patient will feel excessive thirst due to high acidosis and relative dehydration of cell due to high acidosis that lead to osmotic dehydration of cells. Shock, altered sensorium in high lactic acidosis, pH can go to below 7, and with that lactate will increase, and anaerobic metabolism cannot cope up for long, so can alter the sensorium of brain due to cerebral edema also. And we can find low saturation of oxygen. Investigation routinely which are required in general mode are primarily ABG to detect acidosis, anion gap. Blood lactate level we can also get from ABG. Chest X-ray to confirm the lung cause, if any. CBC to rule out an infection or infectious trend. RFT, LFT for impairment of liver and kidney dysfunction, that routine urea and create we will do. USG abdomen to rule out the pathology of intestine or liver, kidney, that organ, how the echogenicity and how the function of these organs are there. Blood sugar level, rule out any infection by doing a culture of respiratory infection or any blood infection. Correlates correction of acidosis. Now lactic acidosis treatment will primarily can be divided in two ways. First, we should focus on correction of acidosis, and with that correction of acidosis, that will lead to improvement in circulation and will help on maintaining perfusion. We will correct the definitive cause of lactic acid. So with this combined mode, we can treat lactic acidosis very effectively. Now for correction of acidosis, bicarb we have to give. If pH is less than 7, we have to correct it, and to make effort to make it correct to reach it to 7.1. aggressively treating acidosis by bicarb can be disastrous, because what happens when we give bicarb intracellularly, it raises sodium load to the body that produces hypervolemia and hyperosmolarity of plasma. This hyperosmolarity of plasma can increase cellular dehydration and then can worsen the lactic acidosis due to poor metabolism of lactate due to less amount of water in the cell. Second thing, this after achieving perfusion, this lactate will re-enter as a bicarb in the system, and we have already administered bicarb. That can lead to plasma alkalosis. Bicarb will also produce a high amount of CO2 that can be eliminated by respiratory system, so will lead to increase in workload of lung and pulmonary function. So primary target is to treat bicarb to get pH of 7.1. Bicarb requirement we can calculate in this equation that is given. Desired bicarb minus observed bicarb multiplied by 0.4 into body weight. Desired bicarb we can calculate mathematically from 0.3 multiplied by piece pressure CO2, that is from ABG. anion gap, if we are not having facility to get lactate level easily, from anion gap we can get it. We can clinically assume that patient might have lactic acidosis with seeing background in form of the causes of lactic acid that we have discussed. So normal anion gap is 10 to 12. If this anion gap is increasing, then we should see for some metabolites that are consuming it. Crystalloids for volume replacement to correct dehydration to cause acidosis, around 30 ml per kg in first 3 hours we can give. Crystalloid, primarily we can give half strength NS, that is giving a good amount of water with reduced sodium load. The bicarb we will which we will use will be neutralized, so it will help in to reduce the load of sodium intravascularly during initial period of acid base correction. Ringal lactate can also be used. That lactate can be converted into the bicarb. 31 millimole lactate is there in normal ringal lactate, and after proper oxygenation and tissue perfusion, liver can convert it to same 1:1 ratio bicarb. The solution containing gluconate are not that much effective. The gluconate is not convert to the bicarb. Acetate solution we can use. It is even more efficient than lactate. With correction of acidosis, we have to correct electrolyte imbalance also, because while correcting acidosis, we are increasing alkali inside blood, and that can lead to mobilization of potassium. So hypokalemia can also happen. So frequent ABG would require to correct the sodium and sodium, potassium and chloride imbalance. Now we have discussed about correction of acidosis. Now we will go for definitive treatment of lactic acidosis. First we will discuss about type A lactic acidosis. Now here the issue is global hypoperfusion. Now first we will discuss about hypovolemic shock. So in hypovolemic shock, the correction requirement is the correction of blood volume loss. That can be done by crystalloid. Crystalloid we can choose as a RL, a ringal lactate. Second solution is acetate based solution, and other are normal saline. So on the selection of crystalloid requires a little bit knowledge. In lactic acidosis or any type of metabolic acidosis, there is a high requirement of bicarb is there to give a proper correction of pH imbalance. So we are supposed to use bicarb for acid-base correction. So our goal should be to maintain serum sodium level around 140, 145 to 150, not more than 150. So in setup of acidosis, better to choose a solution like Linger lactate or acetate base crystalloid solution. Better to avoid normal saline solution. In some setup, we may require to use hypotonic solution like half strength NS to give proper hydration to the cell and to avoid excess sodium raise during treatment of acidosis. Correction of hematocrit is also very important during this procedure. Hematocrit is having a very important role in lactic acidosis due to what it do. Reduction in hematocrit value, it will reduce the oxygen flux in the blood. So lactic acidosis is primarily an anaerobic metabolism that has created a high level of lactic acid. So our purpose is to treat a tissue hypoxemia. So if you are correcting hematocrit level to the normal level like more than 10 or 12 in after post-surgical period, if a patient pre-operative hemoglobin is around 15 and after surgery that blood loss with surgical blood loss, the hemoglobin came to 10. Now here there is some loss, means 5 gram loss per percent hemoglobin is there, and that can alter the physiological process in the body. So it will reduce oxygen flux. If in this setup lactic acidosis is there, metabolic acidosis is also there. So in that setup, if you are achieving hematocrit near the physiological level, then it would be very helpful during management of acidemia. Second thing is cardiogenic shock. It can happen in any type of status, like in after cardiac surgery if we see. So what we will do, first we have to rule out what is the function of myocardium, how it is performing. So we will go for 2D echo. CVP line is naturally more mandatory thing. So by that we will able to measure the normal volume status of cardiovascular system. Invasive arterial blood pressure line is also required to do frequent ABG and to achieve to see the FiO to PO2 ratio. That is very important, having very important role in cardiac patient management. To start inotropic and vasoactive drug according to cardiac status. If cardiac output is low, we will choose the inotropic drug like dobutamine or milrinone, levosimendan. So inotropic drug is required. Vasoactive drug are also in proportional use, okay, to achieve the perfusion pressure. Ventilation, IABP and extracorporeal membrane oxygenation (ECMO) are sometimes required when very extremely low output is there or the pulmonary circulation is disturbed. So tissue hypoxia can be deal with use of ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. IABP will help in cases when coronary perfusion is down and cardiac perfusion is down and it is disturbing myocardial function. So it can help in such case when coronary insufficiency is there. Ventilation is primarily required to properly oxygenate the blood, and second thing to reduce the work of breathing to the patient. So myocardial requirement would be low. So in low output status also heart would be enough to supply the oxygen demand to the tissue. Now we will come to a septic shock condition. In septicemia there is infection in our system, body system. That can happen at a lung or any abscess cavity is there, any wound would be there, endocarditis could be there. So in this setup, what is the thing? Inflammation is very high. In this high inflammation status, the demand of oxygen is very high. So to compensate that, physiologically there would be high cardiac output. If myocardium or heart status is normal, then it will try to cope up with the metabolic requirement that has been raised due to sepsis. And after prolonged sepsis, it can affect vascular bed or myocardium both. So there could be a chance that vasoplasia is also there, and with that low output is also there. That can also happen. So primary treatment for correction of septic shock is to maintain euvolemia, a near normal based optimized level of hematocrit, and choosing vasoactive drug to maintain perfusion to the end organ. For vasoactive drugs like noradrenaline we can give, vasopressin we can give to achieve. It should be used by strategic way. Maybe you will start with noradrenaline. If dose requirement is going very high, more than 0.5 milli equivalent microgram per kg per minute, you can choose another drug to reduce the effective dose of vasopressors. Our target is to achieve mean arterial pressure of 65. If it is there, then it can well perfuse the organs, and tissue hypoxemia can be dealt with, and will help in reduction in lactate and improve the metabolism of lactic acid. We have to select antibiotic as early as possible. The cause of the septic shock is the high bacterial infection, or it could be bacterial, fungal or viral. So proper culture sensitivity report of different tissues like lung, sputum, and blood culture, urine culture. Okay, so if wound is there, then culture of that also required. So our aim is to start proper antibiotic that is sensitive to the bacterial colony. Ventilation is must in this setup, because as we discussed, it reduces work of breathing, and it improves oxygenation and removal of carbon dioxide. So the maintenance of pH is very crucial during this period to achieve correction of lactic acid. Now in type B lactic acidosis, here what is the thing, that tissue perfusion is relatively good, but tissue hypoxemia is due to the high misproportional demand and supply. So in like seizure activity, vigorous muscle use during exertion, hypothermic seizure, then definitive treatment would be the rest if vigorous muscle activity is there. After within 3 hours around, it will come to normal if other system like cardiovascular system is normal. In post-surgical hypothermic seizure, we can use external devices to achieve normal temperature, to achieve normal body temperature. For seizure activity, use of anti-seizure drugs, and effectively ventilate the patient if required. During management of the low cardiac output, we sometimes require to use adrenaline. Now adrenaline is having it's a neurotransmitter also, and it's a hormone also. So what is the effect of adrenaline in system? It will increases the catabolic state in the body. So it will lead to hyperglycolysis. So glucose metabolism will increase very high, and if demand supply mismatch would be there, like low output status is there, definitely we will use adrenaline in that only setup. So most of the time it will lead to anaerobic metabolism of glucose. So we have to select other drug, like the selection of beta inotrope like milrinone or levosimendan, use of assist device or IABP, ECMO, like that that modality can help to achieve normal cardiac output. So by that method we can reduce the need of adrenaline. So when dealing with lactic acidosis in any clinical scenario, if our target should be to achieve adrenaline level at based near the physiological level. During adrenaline use, you will need to perform frequent RBC, random blood sugar, and to maintain euglycemia. Second drug like fenformin we use in fenformin, metformin use in diabetes. The trouble with this drug is like it depresses neogluconeogenesis by the liver. So during this procedure, the lactate when circulating will reach the liver, and after reaching that, it should be converted to glucose, and to the glucose it will convert to glycogen. That pathway is blocked by metformin. So more unused lactate would be circulating, and it can cause lactic acidosis. Propofol can do heavy triglyceridemia, and it can also exert lactic acidosis. Cyanide will produce a cellular hypoxemia, and naturally then for survival only anaerobic metabolism is spared. So anaerobic metabolism will be increased and lactate will go up. So in that case you can use a hyperbaric oxygenation. So to detach the cyanide or carbon monoxide like toxin to the hemoglobin. Antiretroviral drugs can also do in same manner as they are suppressing pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme. So lactate to pyruvate conversion will be cut off. So that can lead to lactic acidosis. Carbon monoxide poisoning, same way. So hyperbaric oxygen would be a good option. Blood transfusion might require. Ethanol, alcohol toxication can also be there. So in that case also normal glucose level we have to maintain, normal oxygenation is required, and ventilation if patient is not properly ventilated. Cell dehydration should not be there. In diabetes status, there is insulin resistance with low insulin release. So in this setup, the glycogenesis, the anabolic pathway is depressed. So most of the time, glucose will be metabolized by anaerobic way, means in a glycolytic pathway. So proper administration of insulin and correction of normal hyperglycememia will help to achieve the goal. Thiamine deficiency is very important while to think about during management of lactic acidosis, as patients who are on diuretic therapy like loop diuretic or any drug due to low cardiac output we are prescribing. So it is a water soluble vitamin, and that can extract it out from the kidney. So this thiamine deficiency will hamper the function of pyruvate dehydrogenase, and by that the lactate to pyruvate conversion will be cut off. So lead to that patient can have severe lactatemia, lactic acidosis. Due to the correction of this lactic acidosis, one can administer 200 milligram per day for a week or like that. And if it is the main sole cause of lactic acidosis, then dramatic result would be there. Regional hypoperfusion can be the cause. We can deal it with, like if arterial thrombosis is there, embolectomy we can perform. So by any means in which we can improve the perfusion of that ischemic zone can improve the metabolic status of patient. Now come to D-lactic acidosis. Now dextrolactic acidosis, this lactic acid is produced by the bacteria. So they produce dextrolactic acid, and it is not metabolized by our liver, as it is having lactate dehydrogenase that can metabolize on levolactate. So it will get accumulated and accumulated. If after doing everything, every measure, and lactate is not coming down and patient status is not improving, we must think about lactic acidosis by D-lactate. So we have to arrange for definitive identification of D-lactate. Normally D-lactate is not measured in laboratory, so we have to ask for that investigation. And if it is there, the target would be the antibiotic to properly handle the bacterial overgrowth, to use a low carbohydrate diet by rice tube. So carbohydrate is the main cause of lactate. So and maintain proper hydration to treat acidosis. By doing this thing, we can achieve the correction of D-lactic acidosis also. Thank you for the this lecture. This lecture might help you during clinical management of the patient who are on lactic acid. In lactic acidosis, what is the thing? It should be corrected in very aggressively manner. Lactic acid more than 5 for more than 24 hours is clinically not good for better outcome of patient. It can lead to a major mortality also. So thank you for your patience.